Hello BookTube, this is Weekly Reads. In this episode of Weekly Reads, I only want to talk about what pleased me this reading week. And that was the 6 volumes of One Piece by Eiichiro Oda that I read over the course of this weekend. I read volumes 70 through 75 in these 2 omnibus editions. This omnibus edition has volume 70 through 72, and this volume has 73 through 75. So, One Piece is about a young man named Monkey D. Luffy, who is this young man here. When Luffy was a young boy, he was the mascot of a pirate crew captained by red-haired Shanks. On the red-haired pirate's penultimate visit to Luffy's home village, Luffy eats a devil fruit, a fruit that grants its consumer supernatural abilities. In Luffy's case, it granted him the power of elasticity. 10 years later, although at the cost of being able to swim. 10 years later, Luffy himself sets out to become a pirate and seeking to build a crew and finding the One Piece, a feeble treasure that will allow him to claim the title of King of the Pirates. So these 6 volumes begin with the conclusion of the Punk Hazard arc. So, at the beginning of the Punk Hazard arc, the Straw Hats have entered the New World. So, the One Piece world is a largely ocean planet. There are 2 major features of the planet. The first is the Grand Line, which is a belt of islands that run across the globe. Think of it sort of like the equator, which is bounded by 2 calm belts. This Grand Line is bisected at 2 points by the Red Line, which is an artificial supercontinent that rings the planet. And so these 2 features divide the world up into 4 quadrants. The North Blue, the East Blue, where One Piece begins, the South Blue, and the West Blue. So after the Straw Hats, the pirate crew that Luffy captains, enter the Grand Line, the part of the Grand Line that they enter first and have most of their adventures up to this point has been called Paradise. So it's still a dangerous part of the ocean, but it's not as dangerous as the second half of the Grand Line, which is called the New World. Hence, the New World. So in order to get to the New World, you have to cross the Red Line again. So to get into the Paradise section of the Grand Line, you have to go through Reverse Mountain. To get to the New World section of the Grand Line, you either have to go through Marijoya, the capital of the world government, or go through Fishman Island, which was an arc of its own that I've talked about previously last week. So once the Straw Hats enter the New World, they receive a distress signal from Punk Hazard, in a seemingly abandoned island that was used as a government research facility for weapons testing. There was an incident before the series began that led to the evacuation of the island. During the time skip, 2 Marine admirals, Akainu and Aokiji, fought a duel to determine who would become the new fleet admiral. which is why Punk Hazard is half a molten hellscape, because Akainu has molten abilities, and the other half is a frozen hellscape because Aokiji has ice abilities. So the Straw Hats decide to investigate. Luffy, Usopp, Nico Robin, and Zoro investigate the island while the rest of the crew remain. The island has been taken over by a mad scientist named Caesar Clown, who was part of the original research team and was in fact responsible for the incident that led to the abandonment of Punk Hazard. Caesar is in a business relationship with a character who was introduced late in the first part of One Piece, named Trafalgar D. Waterlaw, who was an ally of Luffy's during the Paramount War and the earlier Sabaody Archipelago arc, and he's since become one of the 7 warlords of the sea. And so Trafalgar has his own agenda. And so he allies with the Straw Hats, who are seeking to rescue the test subjects from Caesar Clown's clutches. And so there's a big team up between the Straw Hats, Law, and some Marines who've also stumbled upon Punk Hazard. And eventually, Caesar Clown is defeated, and his allies are also defeated, and Caesar Clown is taken into the Straw Hats' custody, because part of the agreement between Law and Luffy is that they will use him to get to Caesar's benefactor, Don Quixote do Flamingo, and through him take down one of the 4 emperors, Kaido. So once Punk Hazard is concluded, the Straw Hats and Law head to Dressrosa, which is an island kingdom that 10 years previously Don Quixote do Flamingo took over as king. He is also another one of the 7 warlords. And so the other 5 volumes that I read covered the Dressrosa arc, where the Straw Hats split into 3 teams. The first team, Law, Usopp, and Nico Robin, take Caesar Clown to island off the coast of Dressrosa to turn Caesar Clown over to Doflamingo. Meanwhile, Luffy, Frankie, and Zoro take on, or intended to find a weapons facility manufacturing Smile for Kaido and destroy it. And Nami, Brook, Sanji's also included, and then destroy the factory. So Nami, Brook, Mononosuke, and Chopper are left on the Thousand Sunny. Also, during the course of the Punk Hazard arc, they meet a samurai named Kinemon, who's looking for his son Momonosuke. And so once that arc is wrapped up, Kinemon and Momonosuke take passage on the Thousand Sunny to Dressrosa because they have someone they want to rescue. However, Doflamingo has his own plan, and he lays in a trap for the Straw Hats and Law. And so much of this arc is devoted to the crew on the Thousand Sunny defeating one of Doflamingo's minions, Law having it out with Doflamingo, and Luffy finding out that his adoptive brother Ace's Devil Fruit has respawned and is being offered up as a prize in a gladiatorial contest, which he then enters. And this arc is amazing. I really, really loved it. It was a ton of fun. The Gladiator arc is a trip. The introduction of a character who was shown in a flashback at the end of the Marineford arc. His return was great, and he is a fun character. The introduction of one of the new admirals, Fujitora, is a ton of fun. The fighting all around, it's amazing. It's just, this arc was a ton of fun, and I don't think my description is doing it justice. No, yeah. So, had quite a lot of fun. Just, yeah, a lot of fun. So that's all I have to report for this weekly reads. What I will be reading this coming reading week will be discussed in the third video I will be making today, my November reading plan. So look forward to that. And until I see you next time, thank you, BookTube. Have a great morning and stay safe.